How do you want to ensure that your design collection is a success? How do you ensure that your collection is time right and market ready? You cannot design in your own bubble because you are designing for a certain market. After all, you have to sell. And that cannot be without a trend research in place. Who would not love to work with you if you have done a thorough study about your customer? This also shows your seriousness about how you want to work with that certain customer. So when we're talking about trend research, we're actually talking about three things really important: brand research, forecast references, and market research. And I'll tell you how all these things go. So moving to brand research, the most important thing is actually understanding your brand. Understanding your brand is as important as breathing oxygen. You must understand the DNA of your brand. You must understand how it is. If you do not, then take it as your first priority, the highest priority, to understand your brand DNA, how it works. Few pointers that will help you identify your brand is: number one, customer or the demographic of your clientele. Where does your brand sell? You must identify a picture of that client who's going to buy from your brand. Is it a mom who's going to buy for the children, or is it a family brand? Is it a menswear brand, women's wear, kids wear? And what kind? Is it casual wear, or is it formal wear, or is it party wear, etc., etc. So the second part is aspirational brands. Aspirational brands are basically those brands who are not your competition, but they are maybe a couple of steps above you, above your brand. What I mean to say is maybe they are on the higher luxury segment, or maybe they are higher in the fashion segment. Basically those brands which gives you inspiration. You get some inspiration in terms of styling, fabrics, trends. It can be anything. The third part is competition brands. What are competition brands? Basically those brands who are actually sharing or competing with you in the same market, who are trying to sell their product to the same customer to whom you are selling. So those are competition brands. It's really important to understand what the competition is doing, because sometimes they come up with something really advanced and what the market needs, and maybe you can take inspiration from or stay ahead of them. Basically, you're always supposed to be ahead of the game. And to understand, you always need to have market intel. And that happens by understanding your competition brands. Now, the next pointer is forecast references. When we're talking about forecast references, we're actually talking about references from forecast sites like WGSN. We can also talk about references coming from different material suppliers like mills, or if it is a printing unit, or if it is trims and buttons and zipper suppliers, because what they are doing is they are doing their own innovation, which is going to help you in your design collection. What is new in zippers? What is new in buttons? What is new in fabrics? All these things put together is what you are going to come up with as a new collection, as a fresh collection with something, totally ahead of the game. Coming back to WGSN, what are the things that you should actually look at? You should look at the runway. What is happening in the runway trends? Point two is, do not forget youth, since youth is the biggest market for apparel and fashion, by the way. Now let's understand market research. What is market research? Basically breaking down three different categories. First is capturing trends. Now, capturing trends can be randomly from anywhere. It can be within the categories that your product line is. It can be different. It can just be maybe some art or city or nature. It can be anything. So that is one. Number two is your competition brands, which I just spoke to you about in the previous pointer. And then the third is your aspirational brands. You need to understand what are you actually going to look into these brands. So what you need to capture is stories. What are the kind of stories they're actually proposing for the coming season? Are they proposing something regarding new things about sustainability, which is a serious matter at the moment? Or are they actually stressing something on new fashion trend that is a revolution, maybe because of something that has come up? Or are they just talking about youth or newness or innovation? There are many different influencing factors. You'll be able to find stories, their trend stories, in their brand tags, their communication, or maybe whatever their posters are. What kind of posters are they trying to say? What kind of messages are they trying to share with you all? What are the new kind of material innovation that they are trying to propose? All these things are going to help you understand what their story of the season is. Capture pricing. You need to understand the pricing of your product category. You can take one example and play around with it. For example, what you need to understand is, why is a certain garment on the store marked as a certain XYZ pricing? What could be the reason behind it? Why is it so expensive? Why is the other one cheaper than the similar looking one in the same store? Capture color, fits, silhouettes, and detailings. Very important, because as a designer, you will want to understand what are your aspirational brands focusing on, what are your competition brands focusing on, where should you be focusing, what should you be capturing, and what you should be taking as inspiration. You have to be right, you have to be trend right, you have to be market ready, right? So you have to be very relevant accordingly. Capture sustainability. Extremely important, a very serious matter going on in the industry. Sustainability. You cannot avoid sustainability. There are different ways sustainability is taken into by different brands. Some take it as a process where they're using renewable resources for manufacturing their garments or their products. Some are using sustainable fabrics, sustainable fabric blends, and some are even doing it the sustainable way in terms of recycling and all these materials. So you have to understand the entire story of sustainability. Capture innovation. Very important again. Innovation in terms of product or in terms of your marketing and messaging to sell your products. Now, when we put all of these pointers together, you come up with a very robust information, and I'm sure you're going to benefit a lot. What I'd like you to do now is come up with an example, or maybe come up with an exercise where you are actually targeting a brand, and then identify their customer, identify competition brands, aspirational brands, and also incorporate what you are going to design as a collection for that brand. The next thing that I'm going to share about is coming up to the season stories. Now, this is something really interesting. Season stories are not just created just like that. You need to have that entire research that I just mentioned about. All of these things put together. When we come up with seasons stories, you have to incorporate what the brand is capable about, what the brand's imagery is all about, what is happening with their competition brands, what is happening in the market, what is happening with their aspirational brands, what is happening again in terms of business, and to top it all, how can we incorporate trends into it, and then we come up with a range plan. And that range plan has to be very, very well focused and bunched into different stories. And those stories are going to be the demand generators. And trust me, all this that I've shared about right now comes from a lot of experience, lots of trials and hits, and I'm sharing this with you. Please leave your comments in the comment section below. If you have any questions, queries, feel free to write to me, feel free to ask, and then I'll see you in the next one. Thank you. Bye.